Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's second live stream. I have prepared an interesting show for you, I guess, news show, and hopefully you will find it informative and interesting, useful. A lot is going on, isn't it? A lot is happening, and for members of our community that may not be familiar with some changes, late changes on my channels on YouTube and Rumble. I will highlight, if I may, that after live stream ends, videos will be unlisted and only accessible through original links that I will publish on my Patreon and Boosty pages. So, in case you want to have access to full shows whenever you want, please consider to join our Patreon and Boosty community, Patreon or Boosty communities. By the way, that would be great support to my work, of course, and to this independent media project that I'm trying to build here with your help, with help of our community. Links to my Patreon and Boosty are under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And if there gonna be any super chat during the stream on Rumble, where my channel is monetized, or let's say any question or the commentary that you want to be highlighted from through PayPal or Boosty platforms, of course, I will react on those also. And I will try my best to be informative in my reaction. That's been said, dear friends, without further delay, let's go through some news now. And as I said, a lot is going on, and I'm going to start with reports about, I think, intentional attack on the crew of the RT that happened in southern Lebanon when Israeli forces targeted RT's journalists. All members of the crew, according to reports, have received injuries, not life-threatening injuries, but nevertheless, they were just lucky, by the way, because I'm going to show you a video now of this strike, and you tell me if they were not really lucky. Today, they're going to celebrate this day, this date, their second birthday, actually. And let me show you a video now, dear friends, of this attack on RT's crew. Just look at this.
The Al-Marj outpost opposite Merkaba and carried out drone strikes on the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
They were actually reporting that. They were doing their journalistic work. Right?
Drone strikes on the...
Look, they have all the signs that are necessary when you are operating in a zone of military escalation. Press on their body armor. If a cameraman had a helmet, there would be sign of the press on a helmet, right? They are doing everything to inform all sides that these are journalists. So no one should take action against them, right? But, and of course, Israeli militaries knew perfectly well because
the Al-Raheb site near Aitar al-Shab. Further rocket attacks were reported against Nahariya and admitted...
Short-range guided missile. I mean, if you can see here, I actually managed to catch the even exact point when, like, nanosecond before the shrapnel hits the ground. And well, it looks like anti-tanker. To me, it looks like an anti-tank guided missile, right? That was used by Israeli militaries. They were intentionally targeting RT's journalists, and of course, none of you probably are surprised to hear about it because Israeli militaries killed more than 200 journalists in the Gaza Strip. We all know that, but nevertheless, yet another confirmation of what kind of entity that Israel is and its so-called militaries and their security services. They try intentionally to kill crew of the Russian media outlet RT. And let's watch once again, by the way. Moment of explosion.
Against Nahariya and admitted...
happened there, that's something extraordinary, by the way. Crazy stuff there. And of course, Russian side reacted on that. RT reacted and condemned, obviously, all the Russian media outlets condemned this intentional attack on Russian uh, journalists, crew of the Russian media. And Maria Zakharova, official representative of the foreign ministry, made this also a statement about it. Russian foreign ministry will soon summon the Israeli ambassador over the attack on RT's journalists in Lebanon, according to Maria Zakharova. And of course, this is a necessary step to summon the Israeli ambassador and issue a note of protest. But barely this is enough, man. I remind you that in past 2 weeks, Israel targeted a Russian house, Russian cultural center, by the way, in southern Lebanon. And Israel also targeted Russian cultural center in Iran, in one of the Iranian cities. I don't think this is a coincidence. I don't think this is a random developments, and due to these extremely hostile actions of Israel against Russia, and due to all the crimes that Israel committed and continues to commit against humanity, I think me as an ordinary citizen of the Russian Federation, I would like to see stronger steps being taken by Russian leadership, including diplomatic ties to be cut completely, at least until full-scale demilitarization and denazification of this fascist entity that modern Israel is, this shameless quasi-fascist state. Let's see what will happen next. But I mean, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Some truly strong steps have to be taken. It is a shame that we still have diplomatic relationships with this fascist entity, man. My grandfather did not fight in a great patriotic war, did not risk his life, and was not and was wounded, by the way, 5 times, and eventually after the war died as a result of injuries. Not because he was dreaming about Russia having a diplomatic ties with the fascist entity that Israel is. Right? And I believe very many my fellow countrymen will say the same. Let's cut ties with these fascists, man. Right? Maybe some tough steps will be taken by Moscow. I don't know, but at least they are summoning ambassador. Okay. Something. Also, dear friends, Vzгляд newspaper and many other media outlets are reporting, based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, that Russian armed forces liberated their settlements of Pavlovka and Fyodorovka in a zone of special military operation. This is a DPR territory, and also earlier in today's first live stream, during the first update, news update, I shared also information about Alexandrovka settlement being liberated, also in DPR. Let me show you now these areas on the map, dear friends. So this is a Pavlovka settlement, and Russian troops clearly are getting closer and closer to, and one might even argue, actually, Russian troops are moving to encircle last major fortified area of the Kiev regime, Slavyansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration, that is. And yes, good argument may be made about it, although still from this direction, from southern direction, Kramatorsk is still a little far away, maybe 20-25 kilometers away, right? But another settlement that was liberated by Russian forces, Fyodorovka II or Fyodorovka II, it's this area, by the way. And from here to this agglomeration, Slavyansk-Kramatorsk, is maybe not even 15 kilometers, probably less, right? Probably less. So Russian troops are getting closer and closer and closer by the day towards this last major fortified area of the Kiev regime that was built and prepared for war, by the way, since 2014. Let's keep that in mind too. And when it comes to another settlement that I mentioned, there, Alexandrovka, this is the Alexandrovka settlement. And after liberation of the settlement, I guess Russian troops will finalize liberation of these few villages that are left in the most northern corner of their DPR right now. Veliki Yar, Karovy Yar, Rubci, Yatskovka, and Lazavoe. I guess it's a matter of maybe couple of weeks from now, and we will see significant progress of the Russian forces in this direction. In this direction too. Also, dear friends, let me give you an update on the terrorist activity of the Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, UK first and foremost. Today we have another reporter about Turk Stream and their Blue Stream pipelines, gas pipelines being targeted by Kyiv regime, of course, with assistance of NATO member states, British militaries and British secret services first and foremost. Right, let me give you details on that. So, Kyiv has again attempted to strike facilities associated with the export deliveries via Turkish Stream and the Blue Stream pipelines, Gazprom reported today. Thanks to joint actions of the Ministry of Defense and the mobile task forces, the attacks were repelled and Gazprom PJSC facilities were not damaged, the company stated on its Telegram channels. From March 17 to 19, 22 drones unsuccessfully attacked the Ruskaya compressor station. 3 attacks, their Kazachia station, and 1 attack on their Beregovaya station. So this is a clearly intentionally organized attack on their Turk Stream and their Blue Stream pipelines from these two, by the way, and they are connecting Russia and Turkey. You, of course, know about it. One pipeline supplies Turkey with the Russian gas, and the Turkey economy, 40%, about 40% dependent on the Russian gas. At least that's the number, I believe, of Turkish gas imports. 40% goes for Russia there, and another pipeline is used to supply with natural gas European countries, Hungary, for example, Slovakia, Serbia, right? I believe Serbia gets its gas also from this pipeline. And clearly, there is an intentional attempt on part of London, on part of globalists, let's be clear on that, to neutralize these pipelines, as they did with the Nord Stream pipelines, while cutting off European economies vastly, not completely, but in general terms, from Russian energy sector, and the European economies already are paying price for that. Almost all major economies there are on the edge of recession or already in a recession, right? And situation only gonna get worse, especially if you take in account what's going on in the world, what's going on in the Middle East on the gas and oil, right? And when UK is orchestrating attacks on a Turk Stream pipeline and Blue Stream pipeline, in this period, that tells you quite a lot, isn't it? And you might ask her, yes, but why would they not stop? Why they are continuing attacking this gas infrastructure when already there is a shortages on our gas market in the world, right? That makes gas prices to go up. And well, answer is maybe not on the surface, but answer is in analytics that I have presented to you many times in my previous updates in regards to strategy that globalists and their allies, Zionists and neocons, are deploying to neutralize their major competitors on a geopolitical scale, or opponents on a geopolitical scale, that is China and Russia. And you think if London succeeds in destruction of these pipelines, Turk Stream and the Blue Stream pipelines, what's going to happen after that? yes, prices will go up in Europe further, but I don't think globalist control puppet regimes in Europe have any care about uh, people there, ordinary people there. I really don't think they care, right? So will go up, and already process is going on, right? But what Russia gonna do if these pipelines are seriously damaged or destroyed? Russia have to do something with this gas, isn't it? And logical direction will be to sell this gas, to redirect this gas flows basically towards China again, right? And I have said a million times before, by the way, that Western ruling class, globalists and their allies, but first and foremost globalists, of course, right? European aristocracies, these generational criminal clans, and European elites, they want Chinese dependence on Russian energy to reach a critical level in next 3 to 5 7 year period time, because if they succeed with that, I'm quite sure they are confident that they can use their fifth columns to provoke tensions between Moscow and Beijing, and then to provoke even military hostilities. So this is very intentional strikes, by the way, and I explain what stands behind these attacks. Right? It might be counterintuitive for many people, right? When Europe is facing energy crisis, why would they attack these pipelines that are still able to supply Europe, but they don't care about it, man. They just simply don't care, those globalists and their puppet regimes. They have a strategical plan, and they are working on the realization of this plan. And they know perfectly well, if Russia cannot sell to Europe any volumes of gas, most definitely, or most likely, let's say, these volumes of gas that used to send to Europe will be redirected towards China, most likely, right? And that's why they started, by the way, for this purpose, to force China to increase its dependence on Russian energy flow, Russian energy deliveries. They basically launched this operation, this crime against humanity in the Middle East, because they want to cut off Middle Eastern energy fields from the world economy, and that means from China. And that will, of course, force China to further increase its dependence on imports of Russian oil and gas. And that is extremely dangerous, because any critical dependence on anything is dangerous, right? And they're potentially fatal, right? And that's why I was saying even before US and Israel launched their attacks on Iran, that in no circumstances Moscow and Beijing can allow Western ruling class globalists to succeed in their attempt to destabilize Middle East completely, right? Engulf in fire on and provoke regional scale violence on ethnic and sectarian lines. And it's not just the Gazprom's these pipelines, by the way. I remind you that about 2 weeks ago, Russian LNG tanker was targeted in Mediterranean, and right now on your screen you can see this tanker, what is left of it, right? Damage is tremendous. I don't think this tanker can be rebuilt, right? It's just junk now, right? And we'll go on to the scrapyard, I guess. This is Arctic methanol LNG tanker that was, I believe, delivering LNG to Europe, right? And after this attack on this tanker, Russian President Vladimir Putin made a statement that maybe Russia will reconsider its business in energy field with Europe, and redirect LNG, for example, towards other partners, because these are unique vessels, by the way. These LNG tankers are unique vessels. You cannot purchase this type of vessels any day you want her and get it next day. Not happening. It takes years to build this type of vessels. They are extremely expensive, and of course, Moscow don't want to see its LNG tankers, number of which is very small, right, compared to other type of vessels, to be burned down with terrorist attacks from British and from British intelligence services and their militaries and their proxy Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists, right? And yet again, you might ask, yeah, but what the hell? Why would the UK or very same globalists or European elites would not secure these LNG deliveries from Russia, right? Why would they allow this kind of attacks to happen? And answer is the same as it is in regards to these gas pipelines. You think where Russian LNG gonna go? In which direction? It's gonna go towards global south, right? And most likely buyer gonna be China again, because at this point China probably can overbid anybody in the region or in the world, right? Japanese, South Korea, anybody. Chinese probably will be able to pay more. But in any case, you see the logic, isn't it, behind these attacks? They want to force Russia to redirect most of its energy sales towards global south, first and foremost towards China. That's what is happening. And this is extremely dangerous. I explained this many times, right? Also, dear friends, I will get to topic of energy in a few minutes again because of the Middle Eastern developments, of course. But I want to share with you a few more news in regards to post-Soviet space. President of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, made quite interesting statements today. I was a bit not shocked, but I will say disappointed. That's probably more appropriate word, because he said that Belarus remains Trump's ally despite U.S. mistakes. Trump's ally? I mean, seriously, man? Even in U.S., Trump is losing support of his diehard allies or the supporters, right? Big time. Trump's ratings are lower than even during the COVID was, right? During the pandemic. And the Belarusian president is saying that Belarus is still Trump's ally. Okay, man. Okay, I would like to understand what the hell is going on with in regards to these strange relationships between Moscow and Washington, now between Minsk and Washington. Maybe you know better, dear friends. Maybe you can explain what the hell is going on here, right? Because to me personally, all this stuff makes no freaking sense whatsoever. If president of Russia, president of Belarus, their inner circle actually believes that they can do some business, or so they can reach some deals with their Trump's administration, and the U.S. will honor these agreements, I don't know, man, what to even say, right? How they can be this naive? It's only 9 months left, isn't it? 9, 10 months left, and Trump gonna become a lame duck, total lame duck, right? After midterm elections there, when Democrats just gonna overrun Senate and their House, right? And they're gonna begin pushing again for same level of escalation with Russia as it was during the Biden's administration. So why would anybody think that it's a good idea to waste time talking to this Trump guy and his representatives, his administration, especially when they lied to entire world for so many times? Take a look at the Iran, by the way. Country was engaged in a diplomatic diplomacy, in negotiations with US, and US bombed Iran twice during these negotiations. They cannot be trusted. They cannot be taken seriously, man. What the hell, right? But anyways, that's what Belarusian president says. Belarus remains an ally of US President Donald Trump despite some mistakes made by US administration. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said on Thursday. I mean, some mistakes, really? Some mistakes? Goodness me, man. Trump is committing war crimes left and right, and you are talking about some mistakes? Oh, what the hell, man? What's going on here? I can give you a quote also. I would strongly urge you that we discuss regional problems, not only their issues surrounding Ukraine, but also global ones, and not only the war in the Middle East, Lukashenko was quoted by Belta news agency during their meeting with the US delegation led by Special Envoy for Belarus, John Cole, at their Palace of Independence. And another quote here: I believe my perspective on global issues, especially on the situation in the Middle East, will be important for you given that you are fighting against our friends. And I am ready to speak frankly on this topic. The Belarusian president continued. I mean, at least he said that Iran is our friend. Okay. Okay. I would very much like you to convey my perspective to Donald Trump, although I believe the United States has made certain mistakes. I remain a supporter of your president, Lukashenko added. Okay, okay, man. I don't think this is diplomacy and stuff. These are the games. This is not even real politics, by the way, right? Nowadays, this political field entered there some dodgy space in which no longer anything makes any freaking sense, right? Everything is fake. Everything is freaking fake, man. Uh, it's I mean, it's I don't know, man. This is unbelievable. And also interesting that Lukashenko pardoned their prisoners after the talks with the US envoy. In total, 250 prisoners were pardoned, reportedly on humanitarian grounds. I guess US envoy or Trump's envoy handed over to Lukashenko some list, or they have previously talked about this, right? And after the meeting, as a kind of gesture of goodwill or whatever, Lukashenko pardoned their pardoned these 250 individuals, probably so-called opposition representatives, and that means Western assets, by the way, right? That means Western assets, individuals that try to overthrow Lukashenko's government, and most importantly, try to destabilize Belarus and the risk with the lives of their all Belarusians, right? Those people cannot be forgiven. But tell this to Lukashenko, man. People that are endangering lives of millions cannot be forgiven. Just cannot be forgiven. Period, man. Right? They can call themselves opposition. They can call themselves NGOs. They can call themselves whatever the freaking name they can come up with. But they are traitors. Everybody who acts under the orders of the foreign country are traitor and should be treated as such, right? There can be no forgiveness for them. But well, Lukashenko clearly has different idea. Probably all those 250 people will flee Belarus in next day or two, or maybe already left. Who knows, right? But that's what's going on. By the way, we are living in a very strange times. It's what I can say, man. Strange times, right? Strange times. Also, let's go back to Middle Eastern topic, because of course the whole world is paying attention to it, and well, you're gonna be surprised there, maybe if you have not heard this news yet. But little earlier today, CNN, for example, reported that US F-35 fifth gen stealth fighter jet was damaged by Iranian air defense fire. And many people probably were skeptical about these initial reports, according to which plane, nevertheless, despite the damage, managed to reach their its base, or managed to land. Basically, pilot allegedly survived without significant injuries. Could be case, I don't know. But what I do know is that Iranian side shared the video of interception of F-35. You can see a screenshot right now, and silhouette right there definitely looks like F-35. And it's not just a silhouette. I'm going to show you a video, by the way, of this interception. And this is happening when when Trump, Hexet, and almost everybody in their administration in US on daily basis are saying that, well, they decimated Iran's air defenses. They decimated Iran's air defenses. They are not even, just a few minutes ago, by the way, during their combined, press conference in Oval Office, combined with their Japanese Prime Minister Takehachi, or whatever her freaking name is, Trump literally said that Iran's air defenses are finished and they cannot even fire anything at the US planes. I mean, really? Did he was informed that F-35 was struck by Iranian missile? I don't know, but let me show you the video, by the way. Look at this. F-35, right? Clearly F-35, and then strike. And then strike on this plane. Let's watch it again, by the way. Clearly, Iranian air defense is tracking. They have a firing solution. Missile is launched, and it's done. And there is a lot of questions, isn't it, about this whole situation, because allegedly, I mean, according to claims from Lockheed Martin, it's Lockheed Martin, isn't it, that produces these planes? According to Lockheed Martin, according to Pentagon, this plane is supposed to be stealth. Should not be visible for the radars. And if so, then how come that Iranian missiles struck this plane anyways? And you can see in this video, missiles struck from their about like 9-10 o'clock, isn't it? From frontal side, not from behind. If the missile struck the plane from behind, from 6 o'clock, you could say it was a missile with a thermo-seeking warhead, right? Heat-seeking warhead. But as far as I can tell, missile struck this plane from I mean, let's watch it again, from about 10 o'clock direction, isn't it? From frontal side. Yes, I mean, missile is coming from this direction and hitting the plane. So it could not be heat-seeking missile, isn't it? It could not be heat-seeking missile, man. So now question rises, and everyone probably will ask, how come that this F-35 that's supposed to be stealth, invisible for the radars, were struck from frontal side? And that means it was definitely not, it could not be, I think it could not be heat-seeking missile, because heat-seeking missiles are tracing the planes because of their exhaust, right? Their engines are generating tremendous heat, obviously, and that's how it is. So I don't know, man. Maybe all this BS about stealth capabilities of F-35 is being just destroyed by Iranian air defenses, maybe, right? But this is the first F-35, by the way, that was damaged in a battle. I have not heard ever that F-35s were damaged in a battle before, right? According to CNN, plane did manage to land, and pilot did not suffer life-threatening injuries, but nevertheless, strike is there, right? And this is just the beginning. I will say this is just the beginning. Longer this war continues, of course, we will see more and more footages like that. Also, dear friends, let's continue with some other news. And we're gonna stay in the Middle East, of course. Trump, during that improvised press conference in the Oval Office just a few hours ago, by the way, when he was talking to a journalist together with the Japanese Prime Minister, was asked, among many things, was asked about deployment of U.S. troops on the ground in Iran, and he said that he's not putting troops anywhere. Although if he was planning to do so, he would not tell this, right? And so this answer basically is a nothing burger, but but I'm gonna give you video anyways, because he also went to say some other stuff, and I will comment on that.
Intend to lift sanctions on Iranian oil, and do you intend to potentially put U.S. troops or more troops in the region?
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you, but I'm not putting troops, and we will do whatever is necessary to keep the price as low. I actually thought when I did this, look, the Dow just hit 50,000 a couple of weeks ago. They said that couldn't happen for 4 years. It wouldn't happen in my term. It's such an outrageous thing because I said it would happen. I didn't know it was going to happen that fast, but it just hit 50,000, and we did that in 1 year, not 4.
I mean, I just want to point your attention to this. Probably already noticed, by the way, this unique ability of Trump, or maybe consequences of age, that he's jumping from topic to topic constantly. Especially, this is noticeable lately, isn't it? You ask him about one topic, and he will, during the answer, he will jump from topic to topic to topic to topic. He will tell you nothing interesting, but he will talk. He will be just everywhere, right? Just everywhere. So there is some cognitive issues with the Trump, I think, right? Something that we should keep in mind. After all, age does its thing, man. It's all humans with age, of course, experiencing, facing certain stuff that is specific for the old age, right? So something is really wrong with the Trump there. Really wrong with the Trump in terms of health, right? In terms of cognitive abilities, and this is because he's a president of the country. That's dangerous. I was saying the same in regards to Biden, because Biden was clearly not there, right? And formally he was a president of the nuclear superpower, and now something similar is happening with the Trump. And this is also extremely dangerous, because what the hell, man? What the hell? You were asked about one topic, and you are beginning from this to this to this to this to this, jumping all around. Who asked you anything about freaking what he was talking about, Dow Jones or something? No one gives a damn about Dow Jones, man, with the exception of freaking rich, filthy criminals in U.S. ruling class, and in the ruling class of worldwide that have invested in that bubble big time. No one else really cares, man. Anyways, Trump said that, and also when it comes to his cognitive abilities, you see there, he said that, well, he don't plan to put troops anywhere. Even if he was planning, he would not say it. But what about these 2,000 plus U.S. Marines that are moving towards the Middle East on USS Tripoli? Maybe he just forget about it. Maybe he forget about it, that right now, that USS Tripoli amphibious assault vessel with, according to reports, 2,200 Marines on the board, is speeding towards the Middle East. And just the day before yesterday, I believe, passed offshore of Singapore or something. So it's most likely it is in Indian Ocean at this point. So if you are not planning to do nothing in terms of deployment of ground troops, then why you are sending this Tripoli with the ground force on it, with Marines on the board? Why? I mean, what is the point? Anyways, something is truly wrong with the Trump. Many things are wrong with the Trump, and I just wanted to highlight this a moment. Everyone is noticing this stuff, by the way. It's just too obvious at this point. And well, there was also statements of Besant, by the way. I mean, he is not a defense secretary of U.S. He is not a military leader of the U.S. I have no freaking idea why he even commented on their military issues, but he went to say during the televised interview on Fox that US might actually take action to seize Harg Island in the Persian Gulf, Iranian island, and turn it into a US asset. This is crazy, by the way. US high-ranking official publicly in an interview is saying that they might actually steal the entire freaking island from another nation and turn it into a US asset. Seriously? What the hell, man? Right? And this statement of Hexet once again gives us probably additional indicator that maybe that marine force on a Tripoli, USS Tripoli, is redeployed exactly for that purpose, to possibly conduct an assault on that island, Hark Island, and establish control over it. Maybe, right? Just saying. I'm gonna give you short video of the statement of Besant.
On it. As I said, there was a bombing campaign last week. The military assets on Kharg Island were destroyed. And the other thing I can tell you, if you're an oil worker, you don't want to work there. So all the oil workers there are being coerced to stay there. And, we will see what happens with whether that eventually becomes a U.S. asset.
What would be your...
So it's, it's crazy. It's crazy that these people are not shying away to talk openly, publicly about taking the land from others, right? In this particular case, this Harker Island, and let me show you on the map where this island is located. Some people are misunderstood about location of this island. I was like about 2 hours ago, I was watching some short video from LBC, British propaganda outlet, on YouTube, and there was two hosts that were talking with each other, and both agree that this Hark Island, they mentioned Hark Island, and both agree that this Hark Island is in the right there in next to Hormuz Strait, which is not really the truth, by the way, right? They should, learn a little more, right, before talking about some stuff. They clearly have no freaking idea where this Hark Island is, because you cannot make that kind of mistake. Otherwise, this is not a mechanical mistake. They just didn't know what's going on. Hark Island is actually towards the end of the Persian Gulf, not in the beginning of the Persian Gulf or anywhere around the Hormuz Strait, but it's right there. That's where Hark Island is, almost in the end of the Gulf. And I have shown you this island many times before. It's a crucial logistical hub, oil terminal for Iran. And according to reports, some 80 to 90% of Iranian oil is exported from this island. It has a lot of infrastructure for that purposes. And you can see right now on your screen. This is all for oil exports, by the way, all this stuff. US already bombed this island a few days ago, and Trump bragged about destroying all their military installations that Iranian side had on the island. Maybe true, maybe not, in regards to destroying everything. Probably Iranian troops managed to maintain their strong positions there. And who knows, maybe USS Tripoli will dock somewhere in the northeastern Yemen, right? Maybe in Oman, and then these Marines on helicopters will be moved into Saudi Arabia or Kuwait, right? And then from there they will take operation. They will conduct operation to establish control over this island, Hark Island. It's gonna be messy, man. It's not gonna be easy. I think because even if U.S. troops manage to occupy the island, right? Look at the distance between island and their coastline, Iran's coastline in the Gulf, in this part of the Gulf. Even artillery can shell this island from Iranian coastline. Short-range missiles can be used to strike this island, to strike U.S. militaries there. So truly, I mean, makes not that much sense, right? At least as of now, until at least coastline of Iran is secured by U.S. forces, and for now, there is no, on side of U.S. and Israel, on side of Western ruling class, there is no ground force capable enough or large enough to actually manage their and establish control over their Iran's coastal line in the Persian Gulf. So I don't know, man. There are probabilities about this Hark Island. There are many speculations, right? But I don't know. Maybe something else gonna happen. Maybe these Marines being deployed there for some other operation. Some people are saying that those Marines will participate in a special operation to withdraw from Iran enriched uranium, and I don't really find the logical that scenario too, because if reports are correct and this enriched uranium is under the rubble in a Fordo or Natanz or whatever place, probably there is a risk then that containers in which this enriched uranium was stored are damaged and leaking. There is such probability, right? Then I mean, it's just it's not going to be even technically possible, right? I mean, technically, then you might take out that enriched uranium, but realistically speaking, I don't think so, because all you have to do is like stand right in a room with that 60% enriched uranium for a minute, and you are dead, man. Literally, it's not a joke, right? So how these Marines that have no expertise in any of it are gonna take out this uranium? And also rumors are that it's not going to be those Marines. They're going to be some special forces that will go into Fordo. They will bring scientists with them, specialists that know how to operate with these extremely hazardous materials. I mean, okay, maybe, but how long it will take for them to get to the bottom of that freaking infrastructure installation, which is deep underground? How long it will take to retrieve this enriched uranium and then flee the territory? And what Iranians gonna do all this time? Just stand around and watch, or what? And to be honest, I don't even believe this enriched uranium is in Fordo or in Natanz. I think Iranians already talk. I think Iranians talk to safe place that enriched uranium long before U.S. conducted the strike with the B-2 bombers during the first 12-day war. But anyways, something gonna happen. The escalation is inevitable, right? This escalation is inevitable, and unfortunately, Western ruling class, at least partially succeeding in its plan to cut off Middle Eastern energy from a global energy market. And this is a trouble. This is a big trouble for everybody, right? Also, dear friends, this morning, in case you have not watched my morning's update, let me remind you that, there are a lot of articles all over the media, by the way, in the West, East, everywhere, about cost, money-wise, that U.S. taxpayers gonna pay for this crime against humanity that U.S. is committing together with Israel and their allies against in the Middle East. And there are all sorts of speculations, by the way, all sorts of speculations. Intercept, for example, reported, and I'm going to give you some details, that the 12 billion estimate given on last Sunday, by Trump's economic advisor Kevin Hassett does not account for the cost of the buildup in the Middle East that preceded the US-Israeli attack in late February. A 3-week war would directly cost between 60 and 130 billion, according to experts that this outlet spoke to, from 60 to 130 billion. So US already spent, by the way, US leadership, or military, political leadership, already allocated or spend 60 to 130 billion on this war, because it's a 3 weeks, right? Today is the 20th day of the war, right? So it's almost full 3 weeks, and this cost might rise up to 250 billion if it extends to 8 weeks. This is according to government sources that this media outlet, Interceptor, spoke to, right? Also, lawmakers expect administration to add at least another 50 billion to the 1.5 trillion War Department budget request for fiscal year of 2026. If you didn't pay attention, dear friends, next year, Pentagon's budget is going to be 1.5 trillion. And lawmakers want to add another 50 billion on top of that. It's insanity, right? It's insane. Long-term expenses, including veterans' benefits and their interests on additional debt, could push the total into trillions, similar to Iraq war. No reports. The reporter of this media outlet is highlighting Bush's administration, George W. Bush administration, initially estimated the cost of toppling Saddam Hussein at 40 billion. At 40 billion, by the way. But independent assessment put their figure at around 8 trillion by 2021. So now you know, by the way, scale of disaster that US end up in, or US taxpayers end up in, due to, I will say, anti-American policies of the US President Trump and his team, by the way, because you tell me if you actually see any interest of the ordinary American people in this war crime that is being committed by US militaries together with Israeli militaries right now before very our eyes. There is no interest of the ordinary US citizens in this, right? No interest whatsoever. And well, when it comes to expenses of Pentagon and Washington on this war, well, Abbas Araghchi, foreign minister of Iran, mocked Washington and Pentagon again. This time around, due to this tremendous assets, tremendous volume of money of the U.S. taxpayers that gonna be spent on war crimes against humanity. And he was commenting basically on a Washington Post report that Pentagon seeks more than 200 billion in a budget request for Iran war. And when this report came initially, many people had some doubts that, I mean, really 200 billion? That's what they want already? Like, it's not even full 3 weeks yet. But yes, it's a 200 billion plus, actually, because Pat Hegseth today spoke about this. He was asked and he answered that yes, they actually want not just 200 billion, but even more, right? Let me give you some details on that. The Pentagon and Task News Agency, for example, is reporting, of course, on this matter. The Pentagon is appealing to the U.S. Congress for additional funds to ensure the continuation of the current military operation against Iran and replenish its arsenals. U.S. Secretary of War Pat Hegseth stated, commenting on a report that his department intends to secure more than 200 billion in additional funding for the operations against the Islamic Republic. Well, I'm gonna give you a video, by the way, of his statement on this matter. But at the same time, we should keep in mind that allocation of 200 billion for the war that is extremely unpopular in the U.S. not going to be that easy, even if 90% of U.S. House and Senate is controlled by Zionists, globalists, neocons, and their partners, right? Military-industrial complex, multinational corporations, you name it, right? These are all extremely corrupt. Most of them in House and commenter are extremely corrupt, inadequate individuals. But even so, they will struggle to allocate 200 billion for this war, which is extremely unpopular, and then go through their waters, go to their electorates, and somehow justify this, right? Especially this will be difficult for so-called Democrats, right, out there, and Pentagon, Washington, White House will need Democrat support. This volume of money to be allocated, right, for this war. So it's gonna get even more messier. By the way, situation gonna get even more messier inside the U.S. itself, right? And now, when it comes to statements of Hexet, let me give you a video on that.
Dollars. I think that number could move. Obviously, it takes money to kill bad guys. So we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded for what's been done, for what we may have to do in the future. Ensure.
I mean, how despicable this individual is. By the way, he's saying that it takes money to kill bad guys. One of the first targets that they struck was a school, and no one gonna forget or forgive that. One of the first targets that they struck was school. By the way, they killed up to 170 children during that strike. And look at their attitude of this mass murderer and the war criminal Hexet, who's supposed to be prosecuted. He had to be in jail. By the way, he has to be prosecuted. He and everybody in that decision-making chain who was involved in that act of war. But they have no. I mean, and this criminal, this scumbag, calls himself a Christian. Man, how insulting is that? When these type of scumbags calling themselves Christians, man. No, they are no Christians, man. I don't recognize them as a Christians. I don't acknowledge them to be Christians. These are freaking satanic motherfucking animals, man. Sorry for my French, but that's what they are. How these animals can call themselves Christians, man, that are killing innocent people left and right, is if it's nothing. Гребаные ублюдки, блин. That's what they are, man. Fucking animals, man. But Hexet went then to confirm that they want this.
That our ammunition everything's refilled, and not just refilled, but above and beyond. I mean, President Trump, as he said, rebuilt the military in his first term. Didn't think he'd use it as dynamically in his second, but he had. So thank goodness he did that. And an investment like this is meant to say, hey, we'll replace anything that was spent. And now that we're reviving our defense industrial base and rebuilding the arsenal of freedom and cutting deals like our great deputy secretaries here is doing, long lead times on exquisite munitions, we're going to be refilled faster than anyone imagined. And I think, we're also still dealing with the environment that Joe Biden created, which was depleting those stockholds and not sending them to our own military, but to Ukraine, which is every time we reach back and look at any sort of a challenge we have, it goes back to, well, send it to Ukraine. Ultimately, we think this should be these munitions are better spent in our own interests at this point, and this kind of funding bill is going to ensure that we're properly funded going forward.
Well, U.S. taxpayers are not going to be happy about it. I guess majority of them, when they will hear how much money is being already spent and going to be spent, and how much it's going to cost them to finance this yet another war crime in which U.S. is engaged directly. But yet again, as one of the members of our community right now commented in the chat, by the way, system is rigged. System is rigged in US, and unfortunately, these good, decent citizens of US that want nothing to do or to have nothing with all the crimes that US leadership is committing. Unfortunately, they are unable to influence anything. You know, and this is bad, man. This is bad, but you know. So yes, soon they're gonna ask for 200 more billions, and eventually, cost of this war gonna go into trillions, most likely, direct and indirect cost, right? Meanwhile, as I already said, the French rating of Trump is minimal. Approval rating of Trump is on all-time low, according to Newsweek, for example. Trump's net approval on the economy has plunged to 29%, the worst economic rating of his political career, even lower than during their peak of pandemic that whole world faced a couple of years ago because of the Western elites once again, right? That was also probably biggest ever, not probably, for sure, biggest ever social engineering project crime committed by Western ruling elites. And they blame who for that? They blame China. When it is well known, by the way, that virus was artificially created in a US laboratory, right? And spread intentionally. I believe it was spread intentionally by Western ruling class. Initially in China. It was spread initially in China intentionally. I still remember, I don't know about you, but I still remember, by the way, there was in Wuhan, there was a competition of special forces, right? Little earlier than the pandemic began. And somehow I paid attention to the information because the report was that practically entire US team was hospitalized. They were sick, feeling sick, right? Entire freaking team. And we are talking about special forces, by the way. These are tough guys, right? They have they are in best possible conditions that they can be. And it was very strange that almost entire team, US team, get sick. And I did not like that stuff, man. I was thinking to myself, something dodgy is going on there. Maybe they've been, maybe someone in the US infected these people, right? And they, unknowingly went to participate in that competition in Wuhan and basically launched their pandemic, which was then blamed on China because it happened that exactly in Wuhan there is that laboratory which was also working on specific subjects when it comes to viruses, right? And that work was financed, you guessed, by from where? From US. What a coincidence, isn't it? But that's a whole different story. Okay, that's a whole different story. But even during the pandemic, Trump's rating was not as bad as it is right now. And Nidish Kumar is commenting right now, China made it worse by hiding it as well. Yes, that's true. I agree with you, by the way. And measures that Chinese implement to combat that spreading of the virus was horrifying, absolutely horrifying, by the way. I have no doubts about it, right? But pandemic itself and everything that come after was, I believe, biggest ever social engineering endeavor or project that Western ruling class ever committed, right? And they learned quite a lot. They learned that they can lock up almost entire humanity, right? They can lock up literally almost entire humanity. And unfortunately, they realize that people will act like like slaves. They will say nothing. Vast majority will just say nothing, right? There will be a minority, and that was the case, isn't it? There was a minority that was protesting, right? informed minority especially, that was protesting, that was saying this is not okay, man, we cannot do this stuff. But majority was silent, man, and that is terrifying, isn't it? That is terrifying. Western ruling class, globalists, they learn after that pandemic that they can basically do whatever they want to humanity, and their majority will just take it. And this is truly scary, man. When if you think about it, this is truly scary, right? But nevertheless, let's continue with the news. I don't know. I probably mentioned already, but in case you don't know, dear friends, after live stream ends, original links or video will be it's a public now, but after live stream ends, it will become a private and can be accessed only through these original links that I'll publish on my Patreon and Boosty pages. And in case you want to have access to my videos whenever you want, please consider to subscribe to my Patreon or Boosty page. By the way, that would be great support to my work and stimulus. By the way, right? You need stimul to work, man. You need to understand that your work is being appreciated. You are doing something that is actually needed, right? And useful and interesting. So, yes, if you can, please consider to join our community on Patreon or Boosty, by the way. Links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And let's continue now. Let's continue with other news. And of course, I spoke this morning during the first update about the situation in Iran and Qatar in regards to biggest gas fields, right, in the region. Israel targeted Iranian gas field. Qatar issued a protest about it, condemned this Israeli attack on Iranian gas field, but Iran retaliated on Qatar, right, straight away. Basically, Qatar's biggest, according to reports, biggest LNG plant was struck and damaged severely. And entire world was shocked, by the way. Entire world was shocked because Qatar is a major player when it comes to LNG exports, of course. Some 20% of world's LNG, by the way, comes from Middle East, comes mainly from Qatar, right? It's one of the biggest players in this field, and of course, there was a massive shockwave throughout the world after news broke that Israel targeted Iran's gas fields, and then when the world find out that Iran struck back right on Qatar's LNG facilities, I believe gas prices in Europe, spot prices, jump up like 30% or 35%, something like that. The world was going crazy, and eventually, Trump reacted on this situation, and he said that he didn't know. U.S. was unaware of this Israeli plans to attack South Pars gas field in Iran, which is of course lie. By the way, I mean, one can imagine that U.S. intelligence community, U.S. Military leadership, maybe they ignored Trump, maybe they did not really brief him about this operation. But to believe that U.S. militaries and intelligence services did not know that Israel was planning this attack is impossible. It could not be the truth, right? Because if you just ignore everything for a safety purpose, for safety reasons, by the way, Israel and U.S., they have to share with each other information about their flights, about their targets, right? To make sure that they're not going to open fire on each other and do something to each other, right? Or to each other's assets, either in the air or on the ground. So it is absolutely impossible that U.S. did not know that Israel was planning to attack this gas field. But because of this massive reaction worldwide, Trump made this statement that he He was not informed. He even published some longer post on his True Social, sort of criticizing Israel for this. No one believes, of course. No one believes in that. And after all, Israeli asset, Barak Ravid, that operates as Axios' journalist, said that well, Trump is lying. Contrary to Trump's statements, he used different words, but he basically said the same. So, contrary to Trump's statements, senior Israeli and US officials said that the United States had a prior knowledge of the Israeli strike and even approved it in an attempt to pressure Iran after the Iranians retaliated against the Qatar's gas field. Trump is now changing the course. And so Barak Ravid is claiming that Trump himself was briefed about it, because it's a big deal, by the way. This is one of the most important gas fields we are talking about in this world, right? So maybe he was briefed and he said, yeah, okay, just do it. And after backlash, he kind of chickened out, right? But no one believes in this. No one believes in this. And as a result of Iranian retaliatory strike, Qatar leadership acknowledged, and leadership of the company Qatar Energy acknowledged, that their facility suffered a significant damage. Not just that, but according to Reuters, for example, Iran's attack wiped out 17% of Qatar's LNG capacity for up to 5 years. And this information is coming from Qatar Energy CEO. So that guy or woman probably knows what's going on, right? 17% of Qatar's LNG capacity was neutralized by one Iranian strike. And this is a big deal, of course. This is a big deal. And unfortunately, Iran made a mistake retaliating on Qatar LNG. Qatar Energy's facility, because that's exactly what Western ruling class wants, man. Middle East is spiraling down exactly into a trap that Western ruling class created for them and wants them to be seen, right? Hopefully, there will be no more attacks from Iran on energy infrastructure of Middle Eastern countries, Gulf monarchies. But there is no guarantees, isn't it? There is no guarantees that this would not happen. And unfortunately, Western ruling class is succeeding. Every time this kind of stuff happens, Western ruling class is succeeding. And if they failed to provoke bloody civil war inside Iran, to collapse their state completely and provoke civil war or provoke war, and on top of that provoke war between Gulf monarchies and Iran. If globalists failed in that, globalists and their allies, Zionists, neocons, if they failed in that, they are succeeding. Nevertheless, they are succeeding in the main goal that they had, which is to cut off Middle East from rest of the world in terms of energy supplies. And I mean, I don't know, man, how it's even possible that local elites in the region don't understand this, right? Why Iran strike on Qatar, by the way? That was a big mistake on their behalf, right? And Iran struck not just Kuwait, but Iran struck also on Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, by the way, energy infrastructure there. So they think might actually spiral out of any control, right? And that will benefit globalists and their allies. Definitely not regional countries, definitely not the rest of the world, right? So that's the danger that world is actually facing. I said the Western ruling class, they would not operate just with the plan A. They will have plan B, plan C, Plan D, Plan E, Plan F, and all the other plans in a place, and maybe they will launch simultaneously like 2-3 plans, right? They have capabilities to do so. Let's not underestimate capabilities of Western ruling class and the assets that they can manipulate with, including United States, right? Including Europe, European states, and also Israel. Yes, Israel is a Zionist project and so on, but Zionists are allies in this particular case, and usually always, actually. They are Zionists of the globalists, right, and the neocons. So we cannot underestimate their capabilities, man. And I think they are actually pushing for in several directions simultaneously, clearly. And we are already seeing that energy infrastructure in the region has been step by step neutralized. Now Iran is conducting retaliatory strikes on energy infrastructure. Before that, I mean, Israel and US already targeting Iran's energy infrastructure, and they were also targeting energy infrastructure, conducting these false flag operations in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, right? After all, there were reports, I believe Tucker Carlson reported about it, isn't it, that UAE security services and Saudi security services actually arrested Israeli assets, Israeli intelligence assets, right? Probably assets that were engaged in these false flag operations, launching drones towards energy infrastructure there, right? And so, yes, this is something that everyone has to keep in mind, that Western ruling class, man, they are not operating just with one plan. Clearly, methodical destruction of energy infrastructure of the region has begun. Strait of Hormuz is effectively shut down by the globalists, not by Iran, as everybody is saying, but first and foremost by globalists, because they are not insuring the vessels, right, that are linked to countries that Iran don't consider to be enemies, right, or the hostile. But those vessels from, let's say, friendly or neutral countries still cannot navigate in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait because they have no insurance. And who controls the insurance market? Globalists control. Lloyd's of London, right? It's a globalist tool. It's crazy. So, unfortunately, as of now, globalists and their allies actually are managing to succeed in their plan, right? Because they are methodically destroying energy infrastructure. They have introduced tremendous issues when it comes to navigation into Persian Gulf and the Hormuz Strait. And simultaneously, they are still pushing. They are bombing, by the way, day in, day out. They are bombing Iran. They are bombing everything they can, right? Police stations, water supply stations, hospitals, schools, everything, right? They still are pushing for original plan to create such a misery in Iran that people out of struggle for survival will begin fighting each other, right? Different groups. So globally still are pushing for this initial plan to provoke civil war in Iran and then spread this civil war throughout the region, while also provoking war between all or some of the Gulf monarchies and Iran, which obviously will be war on ethnic and sectarian lines because Gulf monarchies are Arabs and the Sunnis, while a majority in Iran are Persians, right? Not Arabs, Persians, your typical Indo-Europeans, basically, right? And Shiites. So globalists are pushing for that plan, initial plan, and simultaneously they are quite actively working on, let's say, plan B, which is a destruction of energy infrastructure in the region. And sadly, tragically, they are succeeding in this. And the world is kind of, in one sense, the world is paying attention. Yes, everybody is talking about Strait of Hormuz, but on the other hand, seems like very few understands that destruction of energy sector in the region, creation of their issues in the navigation in the Persian Gulf and Hormuz Strait is actually the plan that Western elites have. That's their plan, by the way. That's what they wanted, right? And want. But with the exception of me, by the way, I don't see anybody really. I mean, honestly, man, I don't see anybody that points out this stuff. Recently, at least from what I see, some outlets in alternative media began linking all these developments in the Middle East with China, at least, right? Okay, good, but still, by the way, that's not enough. This strategy that West is deploying or implementing is much bigger, right? It's not just about Middle East, not just about China. It's bigger than that. It's about Russia too, obviously, right? And the dominance of the Western ruling class too. Anyways, let's continue, by the way, with some other news. And what I have bookmarked. Yeah, the reports already coming in that Asian countries are beginning to focus more on the coal for generation of their electricity, which is understandable, by the way. 20% of LNG is not easy to compensate. Lack of 20% of LNG on the world market, it's definitely not easy to compensate, if even possible, right? So these countries worldwide don't really have much choice. Countries that were dependent on LNG to shift now to coal again, and maybe Russia will soon receive additional contracts for coal supplies or something, because of course Russia is one of the biggest coal producers too in the world, right? And their prices of course on energy are rocketing. Gas prices going up, oil prices going up, and dear friends, when it comes to gas prices, we should keep in mind that natural gas plays crucial role in production of fertilizers, and fertilizer prices are going up, and that means that farmers will of course try to produce their produce now as much expensive as possible to compensate for inevitable losses for the next season, when they will have to buy more expensive fertilizers, isn't it? And so price is already going up. I believe I have seen reports, by the way, that in number of Asian countries, in number of even Western countries, prices on the produce too already going up little by little, right? And the process will only continue to escalate. And when it comes to oil, by the way, we all know that oil is not just a fuel for cars, right? Oil is almost everything. Nowadays, oil products used literally in every freaking possible field, man. Plastic is oil, even dress is oil, even in perfume, oil is used, right? So, and of course, oil is air travel, oil is truck deliveries, right? Any production of anything is linked to oil and gas, basically, and that means electricity price is gonna go up for companies, manufacturers, right, of any goods. That will trigger chain reaction, basically, and all products we buy will go up in prices too because of the increase in electricity price. It's a hell, man. It's a perfect storm. Something like perfect storm is about to happen in terms of energy sector, right? And some countries probably will face some freaking hyperinflation. Some countries are high inflation, but all countries will feel impact of this crime against humanity that Western ruling class is committing right now, while bombing and killing Iran and the Iranians. And as I said, man, as I said, Western ruling class is simultaneously working in a number of directions, and that includes further military escalation too. And well, we have today this report that UK, alongside France, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands, and also Japan, expresses readiness to contribute to their appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, this statement kind of says something and also says nothing, same time. What they mean? What they mean? Are they preparing ground for deployment, official open deployment of their assets and their and start of military direct military actions against Iran, or what they want to say by this? Really, one should understand, dear friends, the deployment of any number of vessels in the Strait of Hormuz not gonna do much, isn't it? Really, you can deploy 100 or I don't know how many frigates, let's say, entire NATO has, 100 maybe. So let's say they deploy all 100 frigates to control entire coastal line there, not just Strait of Hormuz, but entire coastal line. Those vessels gonna be sitting ducks, isn't it? It takes one person with a good enough FPV drone, wire guided FPV drone that cannot be jammed, and that's it, man. Any tanker, not just military vessel, but also civilian vessel, tankers, by the way, that are linked, let's say, with the US or Israel, can be targeted. So this deployment of these maritime assets not really gonna do much, isn't it? They're not gonna be able to intercept these tiny FPV drones, right? Swarms of those drones. So all this talk about deployment of European assets, military naval assets of the European NATO member states, is definitely not about safe passage through Hormuz Strait. It's about something else, and what this something else is: attacks on Iran, right? European NATO member states are preparing ground to join this crime against humanity that US and Israel are committing right now. And they will find justifications, by the way. It could be false flag operation of Israeli Mossad, US CIA, British MI6. That will happen, or that could happen any day, right? And then fifth article can be invoked, and that will give them a ground to deploy whatever assets they want in a region against Iran. They might come up with any scenario, really. But deployment of military vessels themselves to secure navigation, it's nonsense. It's freaking nonsense. All it takes, really, is one drone that will hit tanker, let's say, right, somewhere, and that's it. That's it, really. And after all, if London was serious about free navigation in the Persian Gulf and through Hormuz Strait, why Lloyd's of London is not giving the insurance? Why that insurance market is basically doing nothing to reopen navigation? It's a legit question, man. It's a legit question. So yes, we're gonna see more escalation. We're gonna see, unfortunately, more and more escalation. And well, you might ask her, I mean, what can be done to stop this Western ruling class from implementing these plans that they have, these strategies? In this particular case, to stop them in, further developing this Middle Eastern chapter, and I mean, I don't know what can be done, man. Only fear can influence. Only true, actual fear might force Western elites to begin, like, operating differently, And there is only one country that can actually bring this fear to the Western elites. This country is Russia. And you might say China too, but no, not China really. Russia can do some stuff for sure to put Western ruling class in its place. Question is, will Moscow go for this? And probably not. Probably not. And that means, unfortunately, that means the Western ruling class will succeed in the Middle East. Unfortunately, that will be tragedy for not just the region, but for the rest of the world. That's what I think. Western ruling class seems like is freaking unstoppable, man. Because it's only us, only Russia that can stop them, and only way we can stop them is to use to use only language they understand, and this is the language of force. And the Russian leadership, if my reading of the big picture is correct, and if Russian leadership, if think tanks here in Russia that are providing leadership of Russia with their analytics, right, with information to have a good understanding of what the hell is going on. If my reading of the big picture and their reading of the big picture is similar, if we are on a point, basically, in that case, Russian leadership will have a hard, most difficult choice up, before them to make, right? Most difficult choice, by the way, because there is no good solutions here. In this situation is so bad that there is no good solutions, right? Choice is between massive tragedy and possible extinction level event. That's how I see, man. Right? If Moscow will exercise restraint and will not try to stop Western ruling elites, that will mean that trajectory of the world is moving towards extinction level event. And if Moscow does some stuff to check Western ruling class, of course, in that case, some serious force needs to be used, serious arguments needs to be brought, and it's not gonna be pretty, man. It's not gonna be pretty. So there is no good choices, right? Only choice that Moscow really has right now is it's between, as I said, man, between I mean, there is no good choices. I mean, if we do nothing, we might face extinction level event in next 10, 15 years from now. But if we want to avoid such a scenario of extinction level event, then we have to deploy such a force that will terrify freaking everybody on this planet. So I mean, that's how it is, man. That's how bad the situation is, man. And without deploying some extreme force, Western ruling class will continue to do this stuff, man. They will continue implementing this strategy, right? That will eventually lead to extinction level event, in my personal opinion. So Kremlin has a very hard choice, man. I don't believe in Beijing's capability to do something, right? But we are already in a war with the Western ruling class, right? So therefore, chances that anyways, it's difficult, right? We cannot afford Western ruling class to succeed, man. That's for sure. We cannot afford the Western ruling class to succeed. Otherwise, the world is fucked, man. That's how it is. what else have I bookmarked, dear friends? Let me check here. So this is screenshots of some satellite pictures of U.S. military bases in Bahrain, UAE, and Iraq before and after Iranian strikes. On the left side, there is before, right side, after. If you want to see, in more detail these pictures, I posted this on my Twitter X and Telegram channels. You can check this out there. Right, a lot of damage. By the way, I would not say that U.S. military bases were in this particular case in these pictures. I would not say that U.S. military bases were obliterated completely, but damage was done. In some cases, more significant. In some cases, it looks like some damage, but nothing extraordinary. In any ways, I believe there is no U.S. base left in the Middle East that was not struck by Iranian missiles or drones. And that's quite something, man. US militaries have never experienced anything like this, right? Ever. And Iranian military is also striking, also, of course, military, logistical, energy infrastructure of the Israeli regime. And today, just a couple of hours ago, Iranian missiles, according to reports, struck oil refinery in Haifa city, Israeli city, and you can see on your screen right now the smoke is coming out from that refinery. Exactly. And also Wall Street Journal, by the way, after realizing that all this push on the topic of Russia being involved in this war and Russia is providing information for Iran, flight path targeting data, satellite intelligence for Iranian militaries. After they failed to create some massive anti-Russian tsunami, and they failed because whoever they could brainwash, they already did brainwash, right, in this war. Whoever there was in the Western world that could become a Russia hater already is a Russia hater. Because those people are hearing some negative stuff about Russia 24/7 for freaking decades now, right? Every day. So those people already being brainwashed, right? Whoever they failed to brainwash, these Western propaganda outlets and their masters, whoever they failed to brainwash, they failed because those people actually are learning, right? Actually are interested in real news, in truth, right? And they are well enough informed to understand that, if it comes to who is the bad guys here, well, hardly Western world is in a position to point a finger at anybody, right? And this realization forces those people to search for more, to look for more answers, right? To understand the situation better. And they are no Russia haters. Therefore, they are no Russia haters, and they cannot be brainwashed by these propaganda outlets at this point, because those people are well informed. Probably those people are, and I'm talking about members of our community from the Western world, by the way. Members of our community from the Western countries, I believe, more informed than these so-called journalists in Western propaganda outlets. And because they failed to generate this yet another anti-Russian, anti-Russian tsunami in the Western world, well, they are going after China now. They are going after China now. They're going to try. Maybe China will work, right? Anti-Chinese sentiment. And Wall Street Journal is pushing narrative, and others going to do the same, of course, that from buying oil, China is now transformed into a country that sells rocket parts to Iran. Iran's critical supplier now in regards to weapons, missiles and stuff, right? And these Chinese, man, they are providing Iran with the missiles. How dare you, China? I don't know who's gonna pay any freaking attention to this stuff. You are hostile towards China. Why should anybody be surprised if China actually provides assistance to Iran? US is hostile towards Russia. US provided hundreds of missiles to Ukrainian terrorists. US deployed its military assets, its intelligence assets to use long-range weapons against Russia to kill Russian citizens. US still to nowadays provides this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky with their weapons, munition, with their intelligence, satellite intelligence, flight path targeting data for its long-range weaponry. And while this is happening, why should anybody in this world be surprised if Russia also, assists Iran, right, to deal successfully, more successfully with this extremely hostile US? This is not a topic, really, right? No matter how hard Western media are gonna try to make some story out of it, it's not really a story, right? And yet again, whoever they were able to brainwash, they already did brainwash. The rest of the humanity is beyond their reach, let's say, and this is good, man. This is good. Unfortunately, majority of societies in the West have been brainwashed, but thanks God, there are many people that are free from propaganda, right? So that gives us a hope, isn't it? That gives us a hope because those people are our natural allies, by the way. Because they don't see us, Russians or Chinese or Cubans or Iranians or anybody really. They don't see us as enemies, man. They see us as humans, right? Just a fellow human. That's how it is. But Wall Street Journal and other Western propaganda outlets, of course, going to continue now to push this Chinese story, right? Oh, Chinese, man, they are providing rocket details. Okay, man. Why should not they? I mean, really. Oh, yeah. Anyways, dear friends, that's about it for today's news segment. Hopefully you find it informative and useful. We had a couple of breaking news right in this program about this Nord Stream and about Turk Stream and Blue Stream being targeted again by London and Kiev, about that F-35 first one that was struck, and all the other news, I think, were important, and hopefully my take on these topics were also interesting. And I'm checking right now Rumble. There is no super chat there, by the way. Also, Anna did not drop any screenshots either from Boosty or PayPal, so that means there was no questions or comments or any donations during the stream, and I have nothing to highlight on this regard. So, okay, dear friends. Okay, this is it for now. Just in case some new members join right now the stream, let me say that once stream ends, video will be unlisted. It will become private and will be accessible only through original links that I will publish on my Patreon and Boosty pages. And that's the new rule in this project. Live streams are public up to live stream ends. Videos are accessible only through these original links that I publish on my Patreon and Boosty, and I will publish their full video too, in case members of community prefer to watch full videos on those platforms, Patreon and Boosty. Okay, dear friends, this is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care. See you tomorrow. Bye.